Whew, starting this week off strong. We got some silly season updates coming your way, and we're going to take a look at whether a salary cap could actually be the way of the future for NASCAR. How's it going, everybody? My name is Eric, and welcome to Out of the Groove. I know I've been uploading a lot of videos lately. Let me know if this is becoming too much for you to keep track of. There's just been a lot of NASCAR news stories coming out lately. It's the off season. I guess everyone's decided to save all their big announcements for now, which, now that I think about it, probably was the smart move. I guess I should have seen this coming. But yeah, sorry to be clogging up your subscriptions feeds. I've never really thought of myself as like a daily uploader. I never, ever thought I'd get to this point, and I'm still not. But these days I'm uploading like 4 or 5 videos a week, so it almost feels like I am. But yeah, sorry about that, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so hopefully it's worth your time. I'll get to the silly season stuff in a minute, but I want to start today by talking about a report I saw tweeted by Adam Stern from Sports Business Daily. Apparently NASCAR has hired Deloitte, I don't know how to say this company's name. NASCAR has hired this company to audit teams' finances in hopes of creating a common accounting framework. According to Adam Stern, teams agreed to the unprecedented step to help find a new competitive balance framework and determine if a budget cap will be introduced. Now, since this is all just speculation, not confirmed, and not necessarily going to amount to anything significant, I'm going to leave it at that. But this is pretty big news, especially the idea of a budget cap, aka a salary cap like you see in other sports like the NBA. The idea of something like that coming to NASCAR, I'm sure, is pretty foreign to a lot of people. My initial reaction to this report is that it's, I think, good news, especially if you're a fan, like I think most of us are, who wants NASCAR to make budget cuts and make racing more affordable for these race teams. By implementing some sort of salary cap, obviously NASCAR would put a cap on how much money teams can spend. So you're not going to have big teams overspending on certain things. You're going to have everybody kind of following the same rules. How is that going to curb spending? Not sure. Obviously no numbers have been announced. We don't really know if it's going to have a significant impact or whether it won't really. So that's why it's hard for me to react to this initial report. I just wanted to throw it out there. This tweet also mentions how teams are looking to create a sort of competitive balance. Now that is something that, a salary cap or a budget cap is supposed to do. It's supposed to kind of level the playing field for all the teams so that you don't have teams spending a lot of money to be way better than other teams who can't afford that. Like if you look at the NBA, they have a salary cap. Even the biggest market teams like the Los Angeles Lakers can't spend more money than, say, a small market team like the Milwaukee Bucks. In theory, that's supposed to help level the playing field because no team can just spend more money on great players. Compare that to Major League Baseball, a league without a salary cap, and you have the New York Yankees, who are clearly the most popular team, always overspending and spending more and more on players than other teams. They have, in a sense, an unfair advantage in that sense. Now, like I said, in theory, a salary cap is supposed to level the playing field, but you see in the NBA the last few years, it's kind of been dominated by one team versus Major League Baseball without a salary cap, and the New York Yankees haven't won a World Series in like a decade. So whether or not a salary cap or a budget cap would actually kind of level the competition in NASCAR remains to be seen. I think in theory it would a little bit. I don't know that we're going to immediately see like Front Row Motorsports competing with Hendrick Motorsports on a weekly basis, but perhaps something like that could become more realistic if a budget cap actually were to be put in place. But again, this is all speculation. This is just an announcement that NASCAR is working with an accounting firm to look at teams' finances. This is interesting to me as well because, unlike other sports in a lot of ways, NASCAR doesn't own the teams. Like NASCAR does not own Joe Gibbs Racing or Penske or any of that. The teams are independent and they just choose to participate in a NASCAR-owned league. So it's weird that NASCAR is kind of making this God maneuver to kind of help do this thing for the teams or look at the team's finances and all that stuff. It's kind of maybe showing a shifting change in the way the business model is going to go, moving forward. Now I'm optimistic about this mainly because we've all been wanting NASCAR to look for ways to cut back on spending, and once again, seems like NASCAR is doing that. I'm overall optimistic about this just because it shows once again that NASCAR is taking an interest and an active role in trying to cut spending for race teams. That's something all of us fans have been talking about for a long time now, especially once Furniture Row closed, that NASCAR needs to get costs of running these cars down. And just like I said in my video a couple weeks ago, NASCAR, it seems like, is taking a very active role in trying to do this. They've been trying to do it all year long, whether it be with the pit guns, limiting how many people can come on pit road, engines, horsepower for next year. All of these measures have been taken to try and cut spending to some extent. This whole accounting deal looks like yet another measure that could potentially help cut spending. So I'm glad that NASCAR continues to take an active role in trying to find a solution to this problem, and I think that's something to be optimistic about. Anyway, you guys, now I want to talk a little bit about silly season updates because we had a confirmation confirmation yesterday, something we've been waiting on for months now, finally confirmed to the public. Last night, Kurt Busch, Tony Stewart, and Stewart-Haas Racing confirmed on social media that Busch will not be driving the 41 car in 2019, ending his 5-year run with Stewart-Haas. This is something, again, that was reported a while back, several months ago, but it was never confirmed until just now. It sounds like there's been a lot of details behind the scenes that have been slow moving, but now we know for sure, just a couple weeks into the offseason, that Kurt Busch is technically without a ride for next year. Now, every report I've read, even since yesterday, suggests that Kurt Busch is going to go to Chip Ganassi to drive the 1 car. We already know that Jamie McMurray has been told he is not going to return to Ganassi next year. Chip Ganassi apparently offered McMurray a Daytona 500 car, and then that's it. It's unknown yet whether McMurray's actually going to run the Daytona 500 in a third Ganassi car, but if he does, he has that available to him, and apparently Ganassi offered him some sort of managerial role or advisor role. So Jamie McMurray likely done in NASCAR full-time after this year. But this is about Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch came off another strong year this year, made it to the round of 8 in the playoffs, won a race at Bristol. 5 years with Stewart-Haas Racing. I think overall pretty good. No championships, but he made a couple pretty good playoff runs. Was kind of the picture of consistency many years. He did get that big win in the Daytona 500 in 2017, so he had some big moments for this race team. I think his time there was overall a net positive for all sides involved. Remember, Kurt Busch's career was kind of in jeopardy around 2011, 2012. He lost his Penske ride, was driving for like James Finch and really small end teams, really wasn't competitive. He got a ride with Furniture Row driving that 78 car, helped them start to become good, but then he left that team right before they really took off with Martin Truex Jr., so it really wasn't until he came to Stewart-Haas Racing 5 years ago that he was back in a top ride, and his career was kind of back on the right path again. Unfortunately for Kurt Busch, assuming the reports are true, which I believe they are, he is going to go to that 1 car for Chip Ganassi. Announcement should be coming, who knows when, but assuming those are true, it does definitely feel like Kurt Busch's best years of his career are behind him. Now, why is Stewart-Haas making this move? I have to assume it's due to sponsorship issues. Kurt Busch, really the only major sponsor he has kind of brought to that team is Monster Energy, but we already know Monster Energy spends a lot of money sponsoring the top level of the sport, so they have not been able to commit to a full-time season of primary sponsorship on Kurt Busch, so I'm sure that's weighed into Tony Stewart and Gene Haas's decision to let him go. Now, the reports I've seen say that Kurt Busch is going to take Monster Energy with him to Chip Ganassi, so he's going to have at least a part-time sponsor once he gets to Ganassi. It's presumed that Chip Ganassi has some other sponsors lined up, maybe left over from McMurray's deal, I don't know. But yeah, I think Kurt Busch will be okay sponsorship-wise at Ganassi. He's bringing Monster Energy with him. But the main reason for this change, I have to assume, is sponsorship. The report is that Daniel Suarez, we just talked about this yesterday, is that Daniel Suarez is going to go to that 41 car next year, and there's reports that Eris is going to sponsor some races along with him. Also, with Daniel Suarez being a younger driver with international appeal, Kurt Busch, kind of an older driver who has had some issues on and off the track in the past. I'm sure Stewart-Haas Racing and sponsors think Daniel Suarez is a better guy to go with going forward. Sponsorship is kind of the name of the game in NASCAR, at least in this modern era, and Kurt Busch has had some issues in the past that have probably kept some sponsors from wanting to invest heavily into him and his race team. So it's just the way it is, but he looks like he's still going to land with a fairly competitive team. Chip Ganassi Racing can win races, and with the new aero package next year, they could win several races, honestly. It's not doom and gloom for Kurt Busch at all. It's not optimal. Obviously, you'd like to stay in that 41 car. Stewart-Haas Racing was the best team in NASCAR last year, so you'd like to stay on that team if you can. But going to Chip Ganassi isn't the end of the world. I think he still will be a playoff contender. He just probably won't be a championship contender. But Kurt Busch has had a good run in his career. I think now it's just kind of, it is what it is. Sponsorship and money are the name of the game these days, and until NASCAR can actually enact a policy that cuts spending for these teams are going to do it themselves. We've seen it with Joe Gibbs Racing, dropping Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth for Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones. We're going to see it now, it looks like, with Stewart-Haas dropping veteran Kurt Busch for apparently probably Daniel Suarez. Now, because I'm sure many of y'all will ask the question, what about Cole Custer? Why not Cole Custer go up into the 41 car next year? He's the top Stewart-Haas guy in Xfinity. He made it to the championship 4 last year. Why wouldn't they just vault him up into the Stewart-Haas 41 car? And now, to be honest, I don't really know why they wouldn't. It seems like it would make pretty decent sense given the direction a lot of other teams have headed, but Gene Haas made it clear a couple months ago in a statement that Cole Custer would remain in the Xfinity Series for 1 more year. They were not going to move him into the Cup Series for 2019. That was obviously a few months ago. Things maybe have changed, but last we've heard him speak publicly about Cole Custer. Gene Haas said that he would not be in the 41 car. So the only name I've heard mentioned is Daniel Suarez. Seems very likely that's going to happen within the next month or so. We will get that announcement, but yeah, there's your silly season update for now. And that's all I have for today's Monday edition of Out of the Groove. Thank you all so much for watching. You can continue the conversation on social media. You can check out my Twitter and Instagram down in the description below, or you can sponsor the show like our amazing Patreon supporters. We have Michael Harrison, Mentally Defective, Tice Moore, Cameron James, and the rest of these guys. We continue to add more and more every week. Really helps me out a ton. I'm so thrilled that this show has reached so many people and that so many people are enjoying it or feeling like it's worth their time, worth their energy to watch. Really means a lot to me. So thank you for supporting. You too can become a supporter for just $5 a month. You can have your name on every episode and access to behind the scenes podcasts. Check out that top link down below. Thank you so much. I still have that P.O. box down below. You can send me cool things if you want, and I will show them off in a future video, shout you out. I've received a couple cool things already, and I'm looking forward to showing some of those off on video, but you too can send me some cool things. P.O. box address is down below. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. I know I always say, like, I'll see you in a couple days, but it feels like now I'm uploading every freaking day, so I guess, who knows, I might see you tomorrow at this rate. So I guess, yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you sooner, probably rather than later. Peace out, y'all.